Acetic anhydride is the only product where they cannot transport without proper measures. Central government will notify or will specify some goods which cannot be export or which cannot be import. The government will impose the custom duty and also prohibits some export and import. So sometimes we have to make some contract or treaty with other country so that we will not export that particular item or will not import some goods from other country. Hello my dear students, I am Ajay sir, faculty Department of Commerce and Management, Vidhyaashram First Grade College, MYSURU, Temple of Excellence. My dear students, in today's session I am going to handle the subject Indirect Tax 2 for 6M BCom and the topic is Customs Duty. In the previous session also, we are discussing what is the meaning of custom duty, what are the importance of custom duty and what are the advantages of custom duty. In today's session, let's look at some other points. So notified goods and specified goods. What do you mean by notified goods? So notified goods are notified by the central government under section 11B to keep track on goods which are of highly susceptible of smuggling. So these goods are which are highly susceptible. There are so much of chance for smuggling these goods. So some goods, that's why those goods comes under notified products are notified. So these goods usually the smuggling is more compared to other goods. So usually the passengers who travel from one part of the country to another part of the country or where we send the products from one part of the country to other country. So there the smuggling is very huge in these goods. That's why in order to avoid smuggling, the government has notified some goods. Next point, after liberalization of imports and reduction in the customs duty, improvement in the quality of Indian goods, this provision finds no relevance and hence at present not a single items of goods is covered under the notified goods. So after liberalization in the 1991, so and also since our Indian products itself got very much quality in production, so this act or this notified goods so got less relevance. So that's why the Indian government, so there is no goods under the notified goods. So and also we have so much of mechanism are there available to reduce the smuggling. Since this reason the notified products are reduced. Next point, provisions for specified goods applied to prevention and detention of illegal exports. So specified goods are those goods which comes under illegal exports and detention of illegal exports. The prohibitions are applicable only when the goods are stored or transported in specified area by the notification. So if the specified goods are transported in that area, then this prohibition rules will be applicable. Next one, specified area have been declared as vulnerable area under this provision. So these some specified area, so we cannot supply those goods in that particular area. This is called a specified area, and this specified area will be information which area is specified area, which is not specified area will be given in the on the base of vulnerable area where that goods is transport. So there will be chances of exposure will be there. There will be chances of other effects for the region of the peoples who are residing there. That's why in those area we cannot transport those goods. That's why those goods are comes under specified goods. Next one, at present only acetic anhydride. Acetic anhydride is the only product where they cannot transport without proper measures, and also in some area they cannot transport acetic anhydride. After that we can transfer all the goods. So it has been notified or it has been notified under the specified goods for Indo-Pak and India-Myanmar border. We cannot transport the acetic anhydride. Next one, prohibition of importation and exportation of under section 11. So what are the goods which comes under? Why we prohibit those goods? What are the objectives behind prohibition of goods? Let's see. The central government through the Customs Act prohibits or restricts illegal imports and exports of the country. So the central government has restricted some goods which are the export or import of that goods will become illegal act and it attracts some criminal charges. Next one, under section 11 of the Customs Act 1962, empowers central government to prohibit import or export of goods of any specified description. Central government stipulates conditions by notification or for clearance of the import or exports of any specified goods. So on the basis of central government's notification, the central government is having full authority to prohibit import or export on the current economic situation, on the basis of current cultural background, economic situation and other factors. On the basis of these factors, the central government will decide which are the goods should be imported, which goods should be exported, and we should not import and which we should not export it. For example, onion. So during some season, so exporting onion will be cancelled because there will be huge demand in our own country. So on the basis of the current situation, market situation, economic situation, and also our health of the Indian citizens, health of the, for example, drugs and narcotics will be exported or imported, which is banned. So like that, on the basis of health of the citizens of the country, economic situation, cultural background of the country, on this basis the government, central government will notify or will specify some goods which cannot be export or which cannot be import. Now come to the next slide. The following are the objectives of prohibition. So what are the agenda or objectives of prohibiting some goods? What are those? Let's see. First one, to maintenance of safe security of the India. So for example, exporting and importing of guns or other equipments or other weapons or maybe gunpowder. So these are the very harmful for the security of the country. So that's why import of export of these goods without proper condition or proper documents is prohibited. Next one, maintenance of the public order. So if you did not control the export or import, there may be chance of importing of guns, drugs, or which affects the health of the country citizens and also public order. So if guns and other weapons freely transported from one country to another country, so usually it may use for terrorism purpose or to disrupt the public order. So that's why in order to control these things, Customs Act is imposed to export or import prohibition. Next one, prevention of smuggling. So and also smuggling increases in order to reduce the tax. So illegally we can import some products. The customers will import the products, citizens of the country. At the same time, so in order to avoid the taxation, so our citizens may export the taxes without government preview, without giving the proper information to the government. So saying only 100 products, exporting 1000 products. So this leads to a huge burden on the tax collection, huge burden on the problem for the government in tax collection. So in order to avoid the tax, in order to evade the tax, the suppliers or the businessmen will do some smuggling. So in order to control these things and also in order to increase the government income by taxation, the Customs Act will come to effect. Next one, prevention of shortage of certain special goods. For example, already I gave example. So for example, during the some season, onion will be shortage in our country. So if you allow export during that season, so inland demand will increases. So that leads to inflation in the price of the product. So that's why during some seasons, it may be agricultural products, it may be other products, when there is a huge demand in our own country. So when we are importing that particular goods, so during this season, the export of that particular products will be prohibited. Next one, conservation of the foreign exchange and safeguarding the balance of payment. So when there will be a free flow of goods and services for other country, import or export, so because of non-availability of the quality goods and cheaper goods, so our citizens may import more goods from other country which is qualitatively effective, technologically advanced. But when this happens, or for example gold, so when import of gold increases, so that leads to we have to pay both. Balance of payment means what? So both import and export should be equal. So if you import 100 crores worth of product from other country, so it should be equal to 100 crores worth of export. Then the balance payment will be equal. Balance of payment will be equal because we have to pay in their own currency, isn't it? So if the balance of payment, for example, if we are importing 200 crores of product, exporting only 100 crores of product, what is the balance? Difference in balance or deficit in balance of payment? 100 crores. For this 100 crores, we have to pay in the foreign currency. This leads to affects the foreign exchange reserve. This leads to effect or bad effect or negative effect for the foreign exchange reserve. So when our value for currency increases, when we have large amount of foreign exchange reserve, then our value for our money will increases. When we export more than import, then value for our currency will increases. But when we import more than export, then value of currency, the RBI will have to reduce the value of currency in order to increase the export or encourage the export. So that's why when export increases, then import, our value for money automatically increases. So when import increases, then export, the value for the RBI has to reduce the value for money. Reduce the, for example, what is our rate? What is our rupees rate compared to dollars? It is 72 to 75 rupees per dollar. Why? Because we are importing that much. So that's why in order to improve the export, the RBI has reduced the value of our money to the extent of 75 rupees. That's why, so in order to maintain the balance of payment, so at least if we did not get the positive balance of payment, it should be equal. Both import and export should be equal. Then balance of payment will be equal. Next point, prevention of injury to the economy. So when, for example, a China cement is available for 200 rupees. So in Indian cement is 500 rupees. Okay, China cement is 200 rupees per bag. Indian cement is 500 rupees. If the government of India allowed China cement, okay, the export of the China will increases, and also customers of India will purchase only China cement, and the Indian cement industry will collapse. So in order to avoid these things, the government of India prohibits no import of China cement, and certain times they will increase the custom duty to make, so they will add 300 rupees tax. So they will make equal. Both China cement and Indian cement will become available at the same price. So then customers will prefer which is good for on their decisions like this. So in order to encourage the domestic production, in order to safeguard the domestic industries, the government will impose the custom duty and also prohibit some export and import. Next one, prevention of surplus of any agricultural products. Now sometimes we have to prohibits the import because in our country only we are having excess production. So when we have excess production, still we have import some same type of goods. It leads to value of that particular product will decreased. Then our customers will have to suffer because of lack of effective price for their products. That's why in this situation the government will ban or prohibit the import of that particular product. Next one, maintenance of standards for the classification, grading and marketing goods in the international trade. So if we did not control or if we did not prohibit some goods, it may be export or import, so it is very difficult to maintain the standards. In the international trade, we have to maintain the standard. So if our goods is not meet the international trade, so then we cannot sell the products to the other country. If the international trade or international standard is not matched, we cannot purchase the product also from other countries. So it is a international, they have to both goods, it may be import or export, we have to maintain the international standard. Next point, reason for prohibitions of import and export. What are the important reasons to encourage the government to import, prohibit the import or prohibit the export? What are those? First one, establishment of industry. For example, so medical or the pharmaceutical industry. For example, in our country, we don't have any pharmaceutical industry. The government of India wants to improve the pharmaceutical industry and build the pharmaceutical industry. So how to get that demand, how to get the market for our pharmaceutical industry products. So now in this situation, the government of India will ban the import of pharmaceutical products, pharmaceutical drugs, so that it leads to improvement in our current our domestic production and also domestic market. So our country people will start to use our own countries or the domestic pharmaceutical drugs which is produced in our own country. So by to establish the new industry, so and also to provide the new market, in order to build the market, the government will export sometimes they will prohibit the import of certain goods. Prevention of serious damage to the domestic industry. What do you mean by that? Already I gave an example. So cement industry example I gave. Let's take one more, automobile industry. For example, if we allow all the foreign automobiles to run in our country, it leads to serious damage for our automobile production. If the cheaper automobiles of other countries, China's cheaper automobiles are available in our country, then our citizens or our customer will not purchase our own or locally produced automobiles. So this leads to reduction or damage for our own or the local industry, local producers. So in order to encourage them, in order to increase the demand, in order to build the demand for our local products, so sometimes the government has to make the import ban or prohibition of import. Next one, protection of human, animals and plant life or health of the citizens of the country. So if we did not prohibit the drugs and narcotics, so it leads to affect the citizens' health, and also economic also will get affected. Next one, humans and animals. So we have to safeguard and save our animals. Otherwise, it leads to smuggling of our animals. Next one, protections of national treasure and artistic historic values. For example, so many ideals. So it may be gods or any other artwork. So many things has been smuggled and illegally transported to other countries. So in order to avoid this, we have to prohibit the export or import of these precious, our heritage and historical values product. Next point, reasons for prohibitions. What are other reasons? Conservation of exhaustible natural resource. In order to avoid, for example, iron ore and other ores, other petroleum products. So if we allow all the products and resources to export to other country to make profit, so in future, so we in our country only, or we only will be scared of, or we only have to face the scarcity of those resources. Then in future we have to import from other countries. So in order to avoid this, we have to conserve the national resource or natural resource. It may be iron ore or it may be other coal. So these things we have to use for build to our country only. We have to use our national to build our economy, our infrastructure. So to make some profit, if we sell all our national resource to other countries, in future we will be in scarcity. We have to import, paying double the price what we have exported today. Next one, protections of patents and trademarks and copyrights. So in order to avoid the copying the same materials, in order to avoid this copying the same trademarks. So in order to avoid these things, the government of India has to prohibit some imports and export. Next one, prevention of deceptive practices. What do you mean by that? In order to avoid misleading practices, we have to prohibit certain goods and services. Next one, fulfillment of obligation under the Charter of United Nations for the maintenance of international peace and security. In order to fulfill we have made an obligation with the United Nations. We will not encourage any illegal practices. We have always cooperate to maintain the international peace and cooperation. So in order to do this, we have to prohibit certain goods. It may be import or it may be export. So in order to maintain, in order to fulfill the international obligation, we have to prohibit certain goods. Next point, implementation of any treaty, agreement with any country. So sometimes we have to make some contract or treaty with other country so that we will not export that particular item or will not import some goods from other country. So this time also during the war time to some friendly countries will make some agreement or treaty that will not send the military products to the particular country or to other country. Like this, we will have to make some agreement. Next one, prevention of contravention of any law or the time of being enforced. So in order to execute some laws and regulations in particular that time, so we have to prohibit or we have to ban some goods and services. Next, any other purpose conductive to the interest of the general public. So it may be any other publics on that particular day, particular time, on the political situation, economic situation, and marketing and any other situation. If the government fails to prohibit those goods and services, then government will prohibit the import and export. Next point. So what are the prohibited goods to import and export? First one, arms and ammunities, military items. Next one, armored cars. Next one, antiquities. Next point, counterfeit coins. Next one, dummy pistols. Next one, dead or alive animals and birds. It is prohibited. Next one, explosives. Next one, fictitious stamps. Next one, label impressed with a currency design. Matches, narcotic drugs, negative films, psychotropic substance. Next point, quinine. Next one, saccharin. These are the export prohibited goods for import and export. Next point, export prohibited goods. What are the export prohibited goods in India? So animals. Next point, books containing the diagram showing the border of the India. Next one, beef, cardamom. Next one, chemical for weapons. Next one, chilies and vegetables, oil products, exotic birds. Next one, endangered plants, human skeletons, Indian made wool. Next one, mechanical lighters. Next one, obscene books and other publications. Next one, red sandalwood oil, specified fruits. Next one, fat of animals. Next one, tosar mogga silk. Next one, wildlife and their parts. Next one, wood and wood products. These are the goods exclusively prohibited goods to export. Next one, types of the custom duty, basic custom duty, integrated goods and services. Next one, safeguard duty, additional custom duty. Next one, or countervailing duty. It is also called as countervailing duty. Next one, additional duty, special additional duty. Next one, protective duty, anti-dumping duty, GST, compensation cess. These are all the types of custom duties. So we will discuss these types of custom duty in the next session. So types of the custom duty will discuss valuation of import goods and inclusion in the transaction value and exclusion from the transaction value. What are the products comes under, goods comes under, inclusion and exclusion under the what are the types of custom duty. These things we will discuss in the next session. Till then, thank you so much.